Hello, everyone. Welcome to join this public training. Today, our topic is a hands-on guide, building and deploying the containers web application with ZK and AWS Lightsail. So today, I will go through to share my experience. Hello, everyone. I'm Hawk. So today, I will share the experience to step by step to build a simple demonstrated example application with ZK Stateless Components, and to build a very simple application and to deploy it, to build an image and deploy it to Amazon Lightsail, this kind of web service. So let's see. The first is I need to talk about the stateless component. It's new features that introduced in ZK10. As we know now, ZK10 is under development, so it's you can try it freshly to use it with ZK. So if you want to try it, you can first, for example, if you use since ZK10, we switched to Gradle, so you can try to use Gradle, and or use Maven is also okay. So if you want to try the ZK Stateless, you can use ZK10 to include these stateless components. And this version is it's freshest version, so it's now you need to check. It's 10.202.2023 and 0509. Yeah, I think no one will remember this number, so you have to first you can check our evaluation repository here, and to check the latest one here. So maybe we'll publish a newer version in the future. So just remember to check our evaluation repository here. So and check ZK. So to check the latest one, to try the latest one. Okay, so if you want to use, you can include ZK or ZK and Stateless with ZK, the latest freshly evaluation. Okay, so that's the basic setup. The rest just a very normal Java EE application setting. And surely you should include our evaluation repository or EE repository, depending on which repository you use. Okay. So first, what we use is what we call stateless components. It's a bit different from the previous component now we can call it stateful. Before ZK9, including ZK9, we only provide stateful components. So what's the difference between the stateful and stateless component? So let's do a comparison here. First, in previous ZK, we provide what we call stateful component. Okay, so the stateful component is, okay, wait, let me switch back to, okay. The stateful component is the component we provide before ZK, including ZK9 and ZK and before, because its state is it kept and managed the server. So you will, when you create a component, actually you will create two entities. One is JavaScript widget in your browser and the Java component at server. So basically you control the Java object at the server side, and its state will be managed at the server side. So when you will use setter and getter to control it, and then the server-side components or Java object will propagate or send response to the client side, and let the client side to update. So the main state or the mandatory state is managed at the server side. And it's also memory intensive because every component you create, you will produce a Java object at the server side. So it will require memory on your server. The more component you use, the more memory it consumes in your server. And also it's session dependent because actually ZK stored the desktop in as an attribute in a session. So the desktop contains the whole component tree. So that means your session is more bigger, yeah, because the session contains the state of the whole desktop. The desktop contains the whole state of your page. So if you have 2%, you have 100% visit the same rule, then you will create 100 desktop with 100 component trees. So it consumes lots of memories. And so you need to, the desktop is heavily connected with your session. But the stateless component is different. You can see the word stateless means doesn't have the state, and it doesn't mean it doesn't have the state. It means the state is not at the server. So the state is maintained by JavaScript widgets and the client side. Okay. So there's no corresponding Java objects to keep the state on the server. So when you use a component, you actually just generate something to the client side to generate JavaScript, and then server doesn't keep anything. So for server perspective, it has lower memory footprint, yeah, because it's no Java object to hold their state in the server, and the server memory consumption is lower, or it's actually much lower because the whole component tree disappear as server. So it's surely that it doesn't have, it's server independence, session is dependent. So there's no need for persistent desktop and no component tree in the session. So actually your request can go through any node in a cluster environment. So in stateful component, it's a bit harder to go to auto scaling and high availabilities. So we need to manage your state because the session is bigger. And surely you still can use clustering environments with the previous stateful components in ZK9 or before, but you need to configure sticky sessions. That means your request has to be direct to the same session when each time you create a session. So you cannot make your request that just request that maybe the first request go to server A, node A, and second request goes to node B. That does not work in previous version because your desktop is already created in one cluster node. But stateless components a bit different, so it can, because they don't have state on server, so it can use auto scale or high availabilities because it's very easy to change the node because there are no state at server. So it's actually we create this is for the need that's now most people want to build their server on the cloud and on the cloud architecture, or they want to use the container to run their application on the cloud, or building the microservice. They can easily run more nodes by auto scaling, maybe sometimes more nodes, sometimes fewer nodes, these kind of requirements. So that's why we provide these stateless components. So in a summary, then you can see here, stateful and stateless. The stateful component in previous ZK, it will create two entities, this Java object and the JavaScript widget. And then, but it's stateful, this just create JavaScript widgets. And previously we used setter and getter API because we try to set the state or get the state from server. But in client side, in stateless component, there's no server state. So you cannot get state from the server, you have to get state from the client. So we provide a different style of API we call Fluent API. It's a Fluent style API to get the state from the client. And in previous version, we use event listener to handle events. with a listen or with command methods. And now we use, instead we use add actions. Okay, so let's see if we if we need to build a vacation with Stateless component, how to do it. Let's see. Okay, let's see. The first step you need to configure what we call is a dispatcher Richlet filter. It's here. Okay, it's a dispatch Richlet filter. This is the core filter that will dispatch the request to our Richlet here, shopping cart Richlet. So this is the first configuration you need to do it. Then you need to configure the parameter. Here is the base package, which is here. That's the base package of all your stateless Richlet. So I put my stateless Richlet here, shopping cart Richlet here. Okay, so it's because stateless demo Richlet. So the base package is its package. So I put this so ZK can scan all these class in this package and find all your annotation here to find your stateless Richlet. So in this Richlet, we will implement our UI. So that's the basic first parameter. And the second parameter is the cloud mode is always true. Yeah, so we will consider to eliminate this to make it default true, but currently you still need it to make it true here. So there are two parameters. One is the base package, and the second one is this. And configure a filter mapping here. It's all the URL. This is the simplest configuration. So this is shopping cart Richlet. So this is the first configuration you need to do to configure the Richlet filter. So because this is quite different from previous way. So we use a different way, just like a Richlet way to implement the UI. And now you need to configure the URL. Yeah, the URL we used is a kind of a RESTful style. So first you need to configure the Richlet mapping, shopping cart, and the Richlet mapping with the method index. So the URL is the shopping cart is the combination with two, with the class value and the method value. So the access URL is shopping cart, and this is empty string. So this is shopping cart. So let's start to run with the let's start to run it at local. Let's make it use the local. Okay. So this application context is shopping cart demo, and the Richlet URL is shopping cart. What I configure here, there's this shopping cart with empty string. So this is shopping cart here. So this is our shopping cart example. So this URL is combined by this value and this value. So this is just this is just like index page, like index rule, but now we currently we don't use rule. We use this method to render the whole page. Okay. So you can see now the style is a bit different. You can see this is the API style is the Fluent API style. It's not like a getter setter, so you don't need to new a component. So you can see here we actually use some kind of every class. You can see it also has a corresponding every component name. For example, previously we call vlayout. There's a component, there's a class called vlayout, but now there's a corresponding class called ivlayout, or label. There's a corresponding label, style. The means the immutable. So every component in ZK9 before, there is a corresponding starting component. So we use this kind of component class to build our UI. So you can see it doesn't have to new UI, because you can, as I say, this is stateless component. So there's no server-side Java object. So you don't need to new an object at server-side. Yeah, you just use this class to generate. You can treat this as a kind of agent or helper or utilities to help you generate a component at the client side. So there's no need to new a component at server side. So what you need to do is to, for example, I want to generate a style with the link of this. Then I need to use style of source. Of source to generate this style. So this will generate the style. And so in this index method will return a list of component. So I use as list. So you can see the page actually is composed by a style, a label, and ivlayout. And ivlayout is just a vlayout component, but it generates vlayout at the client side. So we can see the structure here, which is the label, and no, there should be a source, a style here. You can see the style here, shopping cart CSS, and the label and the vlayout here. Okay, so this is what we generate the client side. Also, the client side part is almost identical as the same client side widget in and ZK9. So you can see we have keep the same client side part. You can see Z label, this part is almost the same. You can see almost the same grid button, but now they don't have the Java object at the server side. They're just in your client side. So you can see here. So we generate style, label, and vlayout. And inside vlayout, we want to render a shopping bag. A shopping bag means this part, a shopping bag. So here we generate also another vlayout with the label shopping cart. And we want to generate, for example, other things. We need to use the with class. Why there's no content assist today? And what we call this Fluent style is every time when you call a method, actually you will return the label itself. So you can concatenate your methods, continue to set the attribute. So there is a corresponding API called with, means is just like the setter. So you can see every time, every method we have a setter, there's a corresponding with method. So previously, maybe we call set max length, set action, set S class, set ID, or set multi-line. Now there's no setter because we don't want to confuse you. Currently, if you are using Stateless component, you will use with max length or with S class to set S class, something like this. So here, I want to create a label. So I need to use of its value with S class to set its S class. And then I want to render buttons. So you can see if I make it smaller, you can see I want to, here I create a label shopping cart and I create a buttons. And the buttons, yeah, I use I buttons of means it's labeled with and with S class with ID to set its ID. Okay, so this is two buttons. One is add item here. The second one is submit order here. Okay, so this is our way, the steadiest way to create a component. So it returns an ID. Okay, let's go back. And I grid. So after the create button, I want to create a grid here, the grid of ID shopping bag with edge flags, empty message. So you can see it's a style with the Fluent API. You need to, if you want, you can set with like this. And sure, you can, with this way, if you want to do something that is always like the same, you can create something like this. It's a kind of static variables with this, and this is maybe you think this is a type of template. So if you every time you want to repeat this part, you don't have to rewrite again. You can just make it a static variable here, so you can just refer it with this shopping bag column template, something like this. So you can easy to reuse it. You don't have to write lots of code. Okay, so this is, you can see this is the way we can generate a VLAO content grids with the S class here. So here you can see, oh, okay. Accidentally. So let's with S class is shopping bag. So if we check here, we should see shopping bag. You can see this layout, there's a S class shopping bag. So if you know ZK, I think you can imagine that this is almost the same you use in ZK, but with different API. So, but the concept is the same. We just provide a different API to let you set the components, but you don't need to renew a component because now it doesn't have a Java component at the server side. Okay, so this is how you can create or build. So this part is just like you use in the rule. So that's the current way. And the next is about action handle. As we said, now we don't call it event listener because it's for ZK9 or before. For Stateful component, we use event listener. But now here we use action handler to make it different name to make it explicit to calling that we are using handler in the stateless component. So like this, I want to add an item. Oh, sorry, I just stop it. Okay, so then we want to implement some event or action listener to handle user action like click the item or delete an item, something like this. So we need event listener, or we say action handlers in stateless component. Like previous, we need to do this. So for add item, we can create something like this. add item with action annotations. Add item here. Okay. Action here to specify its event name, which is onClick, use the same event name, and with the add items. But how do we register this? If we search, you can see there is a with action on this add item. So with action is the method to register event we call action handler here. So you can pass a method reference here to make this to register this action handler on this button. And so in the action items, we need to after this registration, when you click click a button, then it will invoke this items add item methods. But you can, as I mentioned that there's no state on the server. So now how do you get the state? You first, for example, in this case, we don't actually get the state. We only get the ID of the button because we put the older button, older ID, sorry, the older ID in the button's ID. So we need its ID. So let's describe this basic concept of this application. This is the item. So when I add an item and submit, it will submit an order. So the order will have an order ID to store in the database. We can see that there's an order here. So I store the order ID in here, in order buttons. So I need to. That's why I need to parse the order ID. And the order ID just some kind of item ID, which is random generated with random generated order ID. Okay, combined with dash. So I will get the order ID with item ID. This is each item's ID. So I will just extract the order ID from the button's ID. Okay. So if I want to get a button's ID, I cannot just use getter, yeah, because there's no Java object server side. So what I need to use is to call action variables. So I need to describe what kind of which component I want to get. So the client side will send this attribute send this ID attribute, ID value from the client side widget to me. To the server, sorry. So I need to specify the target ID is self. That means it's the event target component. So which is the button itself, and which field is ID field, and I declare a variable to receive it. So when I click the button, so the ZK will send the button's ID from the client side to this method. Okay, so this is what I get some state from the client. This is the way I get state. So this is and how to and we have another way. For example, I can is there other okay. Yeah, for example, on change. Here is the another way. I can change the quantity. For example, yeah, here I can change the quantity here. So the quantity change, the total will change. You can see. So I need to know how much quantity you enter, and I need to update this total by multiply the price. So here, when I change the change products, we can see who called it. Sorry. Here, I register on change on the combo box of the no, it's not. Oh, sorry, it's change quantities. Change quantity is when I change. So let's search. I register the change quantity on the spinner. Okay, you can see the spinner was instant true with action. So every time when I change the value of spinner, it will fire a unchange. And I register the event listener here, action handle here. So this is unchange. So when I click change the spinner, it will fire the onChange and invoke my action handler change quantity. And I can declare the self. The self means the locator of the widget. And this is quantity data is object of input data. The input data is what I input into the spinner. This is only available for if the event is happen on the input component like spinner or text box. And so I can declare multiple parameters to get it from the client side. So I can also get it from this. I can get it from the next siblings. And the next sibling here is the price. Okay, so I can get the next sibling of the event target. So he will send me the price, which is as an integer. And also he can get me the parent, which is the row. Okay, so this the quantity parent is the row. And the row has an ID, and the ID is the item ID. Okay, so because every item has an ID, it's automatic random generated. So I need to use this ID to update to our database. Okay, so I will find a corresponding item and update the quantity in the database. So here you can see when I click, I can retrieve multiple things from the client side. I can get myself quantity data to know how many quantity you change. I can update the service to actually the older service is to call the service to the database. So I need to update the quantity to the database. Okay, so this is the another way you can get the component state. So remember, you need to get the state from the client side, not from the server side. Then we need to do some change. For example, what I means when I change the quantity, I need to change the total price here. So how do we do? For example, here we get the price, and we need to use something we call UI agent, sorry, and get the current UI agent and call smart update. Call smart update to update. You can see there are many stub update to update the quantity, the subtotal, the total of the price. So first, because we don't have a component at the server side, so we cannot just get the component and call it setter. This doesn't work in stateless component. So the process, like you need to locate the component, locate the widget at the client side first, and tell him what you want to update. For example, first I need to, total is a label. So I need to find a way to locate a label. So this is the self actually is, you can image is the spinner now, but actually it's not a spinner. Actually, it's a locator of the spinner. Okay, there's no self. You can see the self is a target to locate a location at the client at iComponent. So you can see it's implement locator. It's not a component. So it's not a real thing. It's just a locator to help you locate something, some client-side widget. We can call locate iComponent. So this cell is actually, in this case, is a locator to locate the spinner. Okay, so we cannot directly get the reference of the component because there's no such things in Stateless component. We need to get the locator. We only have the locator to locate the spinner. But now we need to get to locate the total. So what we do is to get the locator can be do the next sibling and the next sibling. And why? Because the locator of this spinner and the total is its next sibling and next sibling. Okay, so we can use this to get the total locator from quantity. So this is from the spinner, quantity spinner. Then we get the locator of the total label. So now we get the label here. Since there's no, we need to change it. So we need to use iLabel updater. That means because we don't have a component SLSI. So actually we just tell the client side, say, please update this. So we can use new label updater to tell him to update the value of the label. So we calculate the new subtotal here, price with quantity, and pass this value to the client side. Okay, so you can see it's totally different because now we cannot directly change the state at server side. We need to just use some kind of agent or helper to grab, to put those change things, those change value, and tell him to send it back to the client side and tell the client side to change for us. So this is the way you change the label. Okay, so you can see it's every time you want to change something, this is the same. So for example, we can change the product. Change the product means I can drop down here to change cake to hamburgers, and each product has different price. So you can see when I change to pizza, the price becomes 300 and total becomes 300 to multiply 4 to 1,200. So when I change the product, I need to change two things: change the price, change the total. Okay, so for change products, you can see I also need to, I can declare self, input data, but now the data is not a integer. If you call get value, it will give you a string. Okay, and then I need to get its item ID and the quantity. So I can specify next sibling or parent to get the value of the parent. Which parent? The combo box parent here, the product combo box parent and product combo box next sibling, which is quantity. Okay, so I can get it next sibling or get parent and get its field ID, or by default it's value, so it's quantity. So when I click on drop down, click the combo box and select a product, for example, select hamburgers, then it will invoke my action handler to change the products here. So I can get which product name you choose. Maybe it's a hamburger. So I will get the hamburger's price. It's maybe 200. And I will update the subtotal in the database. And I need to update the subtotal on the page. So first I calculate the subtotal, and I called UI agent to get the current UI agent to tell him to update for me. So first I call smart update to tell him to update. And first I need to get the locator. Yeah, remember now we don't have a reference to component. We only have the locator of the component. So when I need to get price locator based on the self, the price is also the next sibling of the next sibling, and the total is the get price. It means that the three next sibling. Okay, so you can see we keep using next sibling, and we need to use update label. So we use enable update to update its value and also update the second value. So you also use a Fluent API style. You can concatenate your method to update multiple things. So I can even like this smart updates another components. Okay, so this is the way you can update. To append a child is the same. You can see you get UI, get current, and append a child, and tell him which parents. This is a shopping bag rows, and you want to append a new row. So you can see we just render a shopping bag item. You just render a row here with the same. You render at the index page. So I create a row and create a drop down, create a spinner, create a label button, something like this. So it just create a row and returned, and put it inside a pen child of this is the parent. This is the locator of the parent rows, okay? And put the row inside. So we can see it's some kind of some part are similar to the old API. We use the same like a pen child, but now you need to pass the different things. You need to pass the locator of a component, and you need to render with the I class, immutable, stateless component API instead of setter and getter. Okay, so this is the way that you build the page and get the state of the widget or with the component, or change the state of components. Yeah, if you still like the Zool way, yeah, actually we still support the Zool way. Yeah, but we already talked in another small talk. Here you can check these 2023 made. We have another article mentioned about how we still can use the Zool in and with stateless components. So this is also we still support this way. Yeah, so we will generate and create in this components with Zool, but they will create this. They were based on this rule and to create stateless component instead of stateful. So, and still can wire the action with the action handler with these action annotations. Okay, so we still support this way. So we can choose whether with the Java way or this Zool way. Okay, that's okay. So let's continue this. And after building this, we need to now publish. We can build an image and publish to Amazon Lightsail. So the Lightsail you can see here as the Lightsail is under my account, and the Lightsail is like this. It's this service is a very simple, easy to use service, but it's more lightweight comparing to other Amazon cloud compute service. It's more lightweight. So usually we will use it for like web hosting, web application hosting for developer or testing, or to build a microservice like this. You can create a container, or you can do some content delivery or media serving. Okay. So first, if you want to do this, if you never do this, you need to install what we call is, there's a tutorial because, okay, AWS CLI tool. So first you need to install the AWS CLI tool that's they suggested. And I also suggest to read this tutorial about here. There's a tutorial about how to deploy Docker container and enable ECS and how to get this tutorial is also very easy to read. You can check it. So I won't cover two details mentioned in this tutorial. This also, you can just find it and read it. They'll tell you everything you need. And then the next step is to configure the AWS the CLI credential. Yeah, this is the next step is to configure the credential. Something, yeah, it's also a long process that I don't mention the detail. You need to follow these instructions here. And then you need to install the what we call is the extension of Lightsail extension. And let me find you the link. After you install the AWS CLI, you need to install the AWS Lightsail extension, a special extension for Lightsail. So wait for a minute. Let me search. Give you the link. Okay. So you need to install this, the Amazon Lightsail Container Service plugins, after you install this CLI interface. So after all you install this, you can use this command line interface to push to create container service, to push the image and deploys everything you need, the operation you need, you can configure it with, you can do it with the command line. Okay, then now we need to prepare a Docker image. Let's see here. I already prepared the Docker image, the Docker file here. So for here, you can see I just create based on the JDK 8 to install the some required package. And I install PostgreSQL, and I install Tomcat 8, and then copy my WAR file to web app and export the 8080 port and run with the start script. The start script is just to start the database and start the Tomcat and initialize the database here. Okay, with some default table and just the default table, the order and items. So for my application. So this is the Docker file. I think you can do something similar depending on your case. Yeah, so this is nothing special, just a normal Docker file. If you know Docker, I think you can just understand this. And okay, after create this Docker image, then we need to build the Docker image. So if you go to my IDE, I create this kind of script to build a Docker image. Just if you know the Docker, I think it's also nothing special. Just build a Docker and the shopping cart as a Docker image, or you can use no catch to build. If you build for several times, you might need this. So after building this image, run this to build an image Docker. You can, if you have Docker desktop, usually you will see the image will in here. So this is called shopping cart. It's one of your image. After you build image, you need to first create a container service. Create a container service, you will need to use the AWS CLI, the command line interface to build Lightsail, create container service, and you can specify region. Could be, there are many regions. If you see here, regions, yeah. So you can see I create two different regions. One is in Paris and is in Tokyo. if you create a container service, it will allow you to choose. There are many regions here, so you can choose maybe close to you. So it depends on which region I think you are, is the available region could be a little bit different. So this is the first. You can also create by this web page, but his tutorial tell you how to create with the CLI. So you can just write down the script and you can run it several times. So region, service name, power, node, number of nodes, and run this, it will create a service, container service here. So if you create it, you can see here, there could be, it will create, show you a container service. And then you need to push your local image. So because the image is in my local, so I need to push with the push. Yeah. Also use the same CLI with push container image and to the region that you create, the service name you create, just create, the label is the latest, usually the latest, but yeah, you can use different, the latest here, image latest. Okay, so after you push the image, if you check into your container service and click the image, you can see there are images here, and you can remove it, management here. So you can push multiple image. Yeah, maybe you will make some mistake, so you will automatically append this tag, like a shopping cart. Let's say 9, 10, 11. It depends on how many image you push. So you'll automatically give you an index number here. So if you after you push, it will give you a tag here. Okay, so this is the next step. And then after you push the image, you need to, this is just store image, but it doesn't run. So you need to do a deployment to specify which image you want to use. So next is to deploy here, deploy is a create service deployment. And you need to specify which area or which regions and which image you want to use. And he access to create a LC JSON, and a JSON inside it. This has to be this kind of format. You need to specify the service name, container, which container you want to use to deploy, and the image name you can see is a tag name here. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depends on which image you use. So that's why I show you there are latest 1 or 10. So you have to see there are multiple image. You need to copy this string and pass here, and which port you want to expose here, and the endpoint, which port you want to expose. So here you can deploy here with this command, or you can use the deployed to here. You can call deployment. You can also use this modify and deployed, and you can enter the similar things here. Yeah. So this is the same. Okay. So after deployment, you can see it will take for a while, and you can see status will change. For a while, it will start becomes running. Then it means it runs here. Okay, so it's shopping carts here. So just the public domain, I don't change it, and it's the context URL, and this is the URL here. Okay, I made it with the URL mapping. So it runs on the Amazons now. Okay, so this is the basic steps to deploy it. So the step is to create image and create container service and push the image to the container, and then deployment the image deploy the image to the container, then make it run. So it will run on your on Lightsail. And after running, you could just change the capacity here, because by default it's a node is 1 node, and you can change it here. The power of node here could be nano, micro. Sure, you can see it costs more, or you can change the number of nodes here. So this is 2 part you can change, and surely the more nodes, the more cost you need to take. Okay, so after you create a node, and usually you cannot differentiate each node, but you can see if I just randomly assign a vacation ID for each vacation, and every time when I reload this page, you can watch this. It could change because there are 3 nodes. So every node actually, every time you visit this URL, actually you might be direct to one of the 3 nodes. So you can C2C, yeah, I go back to C2C. So actually, because there are 3 nodes here, so you might, if you don't do this, actually you cannot differentiate which node you visit. Okay, so this is the node of your of the Lightsail. You can change the node, and let's talk about some troubles I made to share you. For example, you might encounter the error like this. For example, when you build, that's the error I made. When I first time I build image, I will see the errors, the server log, execute format errors. And how to check the server log, you can see here, there's an open log here. So you can check the log inside here. And if you see this kind of error, that means that you are running in the wrong format. Well, the Docker image is in the wrong format. So because it's the Lightsail is on AMD 64-bit. So if you check my Docker file, you can see I specifically specify AMD 64 here, and I also specify AMD 64 here. And even when I build my Docker, I also platform 64. Because if you don't specify it, then according to your the platform you build your Docker, for example, I use Mac in ARM CPU. So if I don't specify these architectures, you will download the ARM dependent image to my machine. So when I build the image, it will be ARM architecture. So it runs. The image can run in my local, but it doesn't run in Amazon Lightsail. So that depends on your local machine. If you are not in AMD 64 architect, the machine or with this architect, you need to explicitly specify this, and beware, like some software like Postgres, these kind of databases also have different binary with different architect. So you need to specify explicitly, or you will install the wrong architect, and it will not run in Amazon. So this is the I think it's a common errors you might encounter. The error in the local execute format errors here is the same. One is caused by the could be caused by your operating system, your JDK, or your any software you installed. And second, I encountered is kind of this hazy check failed is unhealthy. What it means, it seems there's a default healthy check, which is 2 seconds, and this is too short. So you can see here the healthy check because maybe, for example, my application takes a long time to start up, and you will check the containers, this image, does it run it correctly? So if you configure it too short, then the Lightsail will think it's failed and it doesn't run, it doesn't start your application correctly. So you need to configure it longer. So every time when you do the deployment, here you can change the setting to make your healthy check timeout longer if your application is larger, and so it won't stop at the when you run your image. Okay, so this is the basic, the same with the steps that you can run your image. And okay, I forgot to tell one thing. If you run your stateless component DK, you can try to dump dump the server heap. You can see, and you can, if you look at the abstract component subclass, you can see there's no instance here. That means there's no component object at server. So we can also check this. I think make sure you run its correct stateless components. Okay, so this is roughly what I want to share today. So is there any questions? You can type. If you are not easy to speak, you can type your question on the chat, or, oh, okay, I saw it. Someone has 2 questions. If we change the layout of the page, say the example, to adding a column in the middle, we also need to edit the way to locate the widget of that grid at the client side and the parameter of the function for the action connected to the grid. Is this correct? Let me see. Change the layout of the page. Adding a column, yeah. If you want to add a column, yeah, you also like this. You need to like append child, yeah. Sorry. Shopping cart Richlet. So if you want to add column like this, you need to also append child, like you build. How do I build a grid? Let me see. Yeah, the grid ID with row with column. For example, you want to add 1 column, then you need to, yeah, like this. With column, you need to append child, and to get the column and append in a more column here. And actually, this is a column template. Yeah, column. Yeah. So, and the second questions, if we deploy in the cloud and use multiple nodes, is the data replicate of the 3 different nodes? For example, in your card, if you add items, what happens if you refresh the page and switch to another node? Yeah, because if you, yeah, it depends. If there are 3 nodes. If you don't, if you refresh, because my application is, when I refresh, it just refresh everything. So it will just reset. So, but when we click this, I think this could go to a different node. But because the state is keep at the client side, so it's fine for here. So it's fine for if it really goes to a different node. Yeah, but yeah, in this case, if you reload that, actually it's refreshed, but it's nothing about the it's my application logic. So I think it's it doesn't mean it reset or the state lost. Okay. So why need to call? Someone Yada asks, why need to call component with action if there is a notation of action? To me, this seems redundant. Okay, right. Because in this case, these actions only specify where's my Richlet? Okay. This action only specify which type, which event it listened, but it doesn't specify which component it listened. Okay, so it just listen unclick, but doesn't mean, it doesn't say which components unclick. So you need to use with action to register an event listener say, okay, this is the event listener on that component, for example, on the button. Then when on click happens, you will invoke the add item. So I know that could be a little bit, I mean, like a 2 steps. Yeah, maybe because previously when we call add event listener, we can specify event type and the event listener at the same time. But currently the with actions only accept one parameter, just the event listener. There's no first parameter, or there's no parameter to let you specify event name. Okay, so this could make you think, okay, this is a bit redundant, but actually it's not, because for every action handler, you need to know which target, which event. Okay, and say how to action with on-click event different from each other, or two different components. Yeah, I think you can use this with action, for example, to append on multiple components. For example, this on click could be on a button on click, or maybe on another label on click. That's also okay. Yeah, so you can register it with two different, just like you previously you can use listen, and you can specify multiple target. I think it's the same. Yeah, you can register this with two different components and all both listen to unclick. And so Lempika asked, and I suppose update all the locators, which make for a very brittle code base. Let's update all code base. What does it mean?
Sorry, I meant regarding the first question that was talking about changing a layout of a page. And that can also apply to the use of ID items that you were talking about with two different components, like your button and a label. If you now want to start to look for things with the locator, you're starting at a different place and you're trying to go next sibling, next sibling, next sibling. So in the first question, if you change the layout, all those next sibling and the helper will start to fail if you don't change code in many different places. That's why I say it becomes very brittle.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so if you suppose that you will change the layout, then you might not to use this kind of locator. You might use maybe an ID locator, something, because we suppose we have different kind of locator. I think there's the locator has a first trial, last trial, also ID, or even find. I think of ID also kind of locator, of view ID, or yeah, we can use another, we can reference another components. So if you think, I know, just like if you use a selector as a locator, if you layout might change, then you might affect, you cannot find the component. So I think if you expect this, you should use to change another locator by yourself. I think. Does it answer your question?
Yeah. Yes, I do have another question. I saw that earlier when you showed the locator class, we see component in the locator class.
Yeah.
So the self as a locator had the locator and add a component. What is that component?
Yeah, it seems we tried, actually that's because it's
like
under
two component.
Yeah, so it's I think there's do you mean here? Do you mean this one?
Yes. So what is that component?
Yeah, actually we we try to, this is just under development. So this is an idea. We kind of try to experiment. Maybe we try to provide when you use stateless component, we try to do a mixed mode. Maybe some component, some locator, you can turn it into a real component at the server side, and some are keep stateless. But this is just an experimental idea. We are not sure we will continue this idea or not, because this will be more chaos. I think so, because that means you need to know which component is stateful, which component status, and I'm not sure this is a good idea or not. So because we are doing some experiments. So this will make you available to convert into a real component something. Yeah. So
yeah, I would think that in many cases that would make things easier. In that, if you're looking to look at many different attributes of a component, at least what I see will make it very, very verbose and
yeah, you mean
very hard to follow what you're trying to do. If you can get a component, you say, locate something, give me a component, then I can have even less migration, because then I get a component and I can reuse more code from ZK9.
Yeah, I know. But actually, this is for the status is target for a different, a very different environment. They target for the cloud service or microservice, some kind of thing. So if you use Stateful, then could be they will face the same problem that the OZK has. Means you have a large session and not easy to scale. So that's why we don't do this. You either use stateless or you choose stateful. And I'm not sure, is it a good idea to have a mixed mode than stateful with stateless? And that's what we are thinking to this. But currently we're supposed to provide either stateful, either status in a very clean, you cannot just mix them. So that's because I think you already choose usually you will have your you already decide which environment you want to run. For example, this is the application to run microservice. I think it was built very differently from it just run it in your local server. So currently we don't think there's a case necessary to mix two mode. So, but yeah, we will think if you have a good.
For example, if you have a grid component on the client side, and you need to figure out, do I have a row in that grid with a certain value in a certain column, and I don't have any of the components, how would I go about it with in a stateless environment? Do I have to locate every row and get them? It's not clear to me.
You mean there are many rows at client side you have to look at to check every row, or sorry?
Yes. So right now, if I have a grid component, I can pretty easily, or I do that with my view model. So where does a view model fit in the stateless environment, or that doesn't change?
No, we currently don't have this view models in this case. Currently, we don't, not yet supported. So you have to use this way to update the service and update each component state. So there's no view model for now. Yeah, and MVVN now we only for someone still acts the MVVN. So we have another feature in ZK10. We call it client VVN. It's very similar. We just try to migrate, just change the internal implementation. So you still write your data binding expressions in old way, but we will change the implementation to make it to implement it at the client side. But from the developer view, you don't need to, maybe some case you need to rewrite, but not in most cases. We hope that you can just keep your original usage, but we will migrate the whole implementation to the client side. So every data binding will happen in the client side. That's another feature we introduced in ZK10. But yeah, it could help in this. I think it could help in this case if if your case, because we cannot convert all the usage into client VPN. But that's assume if your page can be converted into MVN totally, then I think it could be, you can use view models in this case. Yeah. So yeah, I think we will improve these locator if there are really have to case. Yeah, currently we showed just a very simple case. Yeah, you might think it's dump. Yeah, say next sibling, but actually we create several locators you can choose. You can flexible to find some component with selector, so you don't have to every time based on one component. For example, you don't have to base on this one and to get the next sibling. You can directly find the selector with some S class or other things, or find some child, or use the ID to locate with some with a component. Yeah, so this is the way we should. Yeah, next time I think I will demonstrate more way to locate a component instead of using next sibling. Okay, so thanks for your questions. I will get more ideas. Okay, so is there any other questions? CSV pages where they update located constantly. Yeah, so yeah, if the pages dynamically change, I think we should use different kind of a locator to locate your component instead of using next sibling or previous sibling, this kind of things. Yeah. Okay, so thanks for your questions. If there's no more, let me see there. In the next training, can we see the example X by Ellen when you have agreed and search for any role that have a certain value? Okay, right. To search for value. Okay, I will try to create this kind of example. Number of rows like a pizza. Yeah, okay, good suggestion. Yeah, I will try to create this. To iterate a row, maybe to find those rows with pizza and replace it with hamburger, something like this. Okay. Okay, great. So thanks for your suggestions. I will make this a better example. Is there any other questions? Okay, if there's no questions, then thank you everyone for joining this training. Stay tuned for our news of next training, and they give ideas to us, then we can make better training or better example. Thank you everyone. Thank you for your time, and see you next time.